Hi, I'm Vanessa Davis, and today I'm going to do a tutorial on this rainbow moth skull paint over my mouth. I was inspired by an artist called Art, and this is actually one of his designs that he printed on t-shirts. It's black and white, but I chose to paint it in rainbow. I found him on Instagram and I was inspired to paint this. Stay tuned on my step-by-step. Thank you very much. So for this step, applying the eyeshadow base, I used Urban Decay eyeshadow base in Eden. As you can see, that is a very well-loved sample bubble packet, and I'm using a Spectrum concealer brush there to blend it in over both eyelids. As you can see, my eyelids are very dark because I think it's the Davis gene. I've just got very thin skin on the eyelid, so you can see the blood vessels underneath. I love this primer. It's basically a primer because it lasts all day, so it's excellent if you've got greasy eyelids, and it holds eyeshadow very well and gives eyeshadow a really good base on which to stick, and also helps colours to stand out. So just blend that in really well. And quite a nice brush actually, Spectrum brushes. Very pleased with that, thanks Spectrum. So the next is just powdering the base using MAC Mineral Powder in light medium. I like this because it's got obviously extra density of pigment in there, which further conceals the dark circles. So using another Spectrum brush, applying and blending the stick eyeshadow, I used a Kiko mechanical eyeshadow pencil. I believe it's number 41, and that is a Makeup Weapons brush to blend a sort of C shape into the crease of the eye. I like using these Kiko eyeshadow sticks because they're a very clean way to work. You don't get a lot of fallout. So if you're somebody who likes to do their foundation first and then apply eyeshadow, it's perfect for you. However, I'm of the school where I like to, if I'm doing a dramatic eye, I like to do the eyes first and then do the foundation. So I'm continuing there with the other eye, just blending. Not to worry too much about the patchiness because I will be putting a colour over the top of that later. So I'm sort of working backwards here. I'm doing the dark colours first and then the light colours. So it's just really a case of taking a clean brush and really to blend. I find that the best brushes to use for any sort of cream eyeshadow are what they call vegan brushes, which is another word for obviously animal friendly, but also it denotes that they are synthetic, which I find are very compatible with cream-based products or anything which needs a lot of blending that goes from wet to dry. So obviously you have to work quite quickly. So next is Kiko eyeshadow stick in 44, which is a lovely cobalt blue, which I'm taking under the eye. And that's another Spectrum brush, just blending under the eye first, across, then pulling it up onto the eyelid, and I'm just going to keep on adding colour and blending straight from the stick. I love using anything mechanical, eyeshadows, eyebrows, anything which doesn't involve sharpening, because I find that tends to create quite a lot of wastage of product as you have to sharpen, and also it's just handy not to have a sharpener on the go. I find throwing away those flakes quite messy, and then you always end up with a piece of shaving of eyeshadow somewhere in your makeup bag. So moving on, I'm blending into the crease. I think that's Black in Chromaline. That's a MAC product, into that shape, just to give it a bit more intensity. That's a Makeup Weapons brush. They're a fantastic new Aussie company. They sent me a load of free brushes a couple of months ago, and I use them every day, and I think they're fab actually. They're probably my favourite new find. So thank you, Makeup Weapons. So just, it's a case of, I find I tend to pat more with the darker colours rather than blend, just to get that intensity. Pat, pat, pat. So applying liquid eyeliner. My favourite liquid eyeliner is a Surat. It's Surat. That's a Surat eyeliner. I start from sort of 3/4 out and then sort of take it in little bit by bit and then smooth it over, and I just keep adding and sort of making it bolder and bolder. Just a little word of advice for those of you who have eyelash extensions. I find that any liquid eyeliner which says long wearing or all night or whatever, like, you know, terminology like that, I find sometimes they tend to dry in a way that they then peel off. So if you have eyelash extensions like me, you're better off using those kind of long wearing ones, because they tend to get stuck in the base of the eyelash extension, and then they tend to pull them out afterwards when you try to remove them. So it's just taking that and winging it out and then bringing it into the corner of the eye bit by bit. So moving on to foundation. My favourite foundation is the Giorgio Armani Maestro. I think that's the 5.5. What I love about it is the handy dropper it comes in. I'm going to use a Makeup Weapons foundation brush, which is a lovely lush. There it is. There's the dropper. Great for decanting, I find. So just blending that over the face and down the neck. It's a wonderful sort of smoothing foundation, that one. And I find that it's very long wearing. So once that's all been smoothed in, just keep blending and down the neck. So then I'm going to take a smaller brush, that's Zoeva, and just so I can get underneath the eye. So for my concealer, I've tried many concealers. I've got a massive bag of them in my kit. It's extremely trial and error concealers, and I've found my absolute favourite to be the Makeup Forever Extreme Cover Camouflage Waterproof Concealer. I think that's number 6. There it is. So you can see how well used it is. Look how empty that container is. I find that it just works really well covering up things like thread veins, dark under eye circles, and it's just the beauty about it is that it's practically waterproof and it lasts all day. So if you're like me and you've got massive pointy stiletto nails and it's quite difficult to get your nail into that corner of the eye there, you see, I find just use the brush to pat it in. Also, I tend to avoid the little creases, putting a lot of makeup over those little creases, sort of 3/4 and away from the eyeball, because I find sometimes product tends to settle there. So if you don't need it all the way underneath, don't put it there. Because, as we express ourselves throughout the day and the natural oils come out, I find that the product sometimes tends to travel a little bit. Yes, you can powder it, but I find I don't like an overly powdered, overly drying look. So I tend to like to leave it slightly dewy. But for the purpose of this video, I think I didn't over powder it. So plotting the moth skull over the mouth. So this is the plot using mechanical eye pencil, painting the skulls in the white base. Once I'd sketched out the skulls, I used the same liquid liner that you saw earlier, and I did them in black, and then I took a chameleon white face paint from Tilt Makeup in London, Camden, and I painted in all of the areas. This is so that the bright colours that I'm going to paint over the top can really stand true and stand out. that brush that I'm using there is a synthetic brush from a place called Cass Art, again in London. And I find that art brushes are the best ones to use for face painting. If you use natural hair bristles, it will really ruin your brush. So just use art brushes. They are actually very cheap and very good quality. So painting the vibrant colours. So as you can see, I'm going in with all kinds of multicolours. I used Krylon face paints for this. I'm blending from the outside and using a really lovely bright blue into turquoise, green, yellow. Originally I hadn't planned for this to turn out like a rainbow. I just planned to make it sort of blues, greens and yellows, and then I thought, well, what colour am I going to do the skull? So the skull's there, so I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it all the colours of the rainbow since I can't decide. And I love anything rainbow, so because it's pretty. So there I am, just blending it in over the lips. Of course, at this point I hadn't had dinner, so I was starving. But you know, can't exactly munch away. So just pulling that colour down to the lips and then defining the details. So by this point I'd done all the colours, and I just went in with some black chameleon face paint from Tilt Makeup in Camden, London, UK, and just defining those little markings there on the outside of the wings, just going into all of the details. And then this is the finished Moth Skull makeup. Thanks very much for visiting my channel, and lots of love.